So this is our switcher here at Two Rivers. The way we do switcher and video directing is rather simple. What you're looking at right here is the main ME, ME1, or what's known as a mix effect. The biggest thing to know is you've got your program layer right here and your preview layer on the bottom. Your program layer is just whatever is live. So currently showing on your main output. Your preview layer is whatever is coming up next. That this section right here, these like couple buttons, these are like transitional buttons, we'll put onto program, if that makes sense, or cut or fade into program. All of this stuff up here, you don't have to worry about at all. This is all preset, it's already done, finished, you don't need to touch it. That way you don't have to worry, so it's a lot simpler than it actually looks. And then over here, you've got your keyers. Right now, we're only using DSK1 or downstream keyer 1. Don't worry about the tie buttons. You can just use this DSK1 auto button, which will just fade your keyer in and it'll fade it off. So the way I typically tell people the easiest way to run camera here at Two Rivers is to use the preview and then to cut or fade into your next shot. So a lot of ways I like to do it is say, like right now, let's say we're on iMac. It's currently just a black screen with some CCLI information. A lot of times it'll be like a video rolling, and I like to come out of that and usually, we'll say it's start of service. The countdown video is gone, the announcement video is ending. I'll say ready camera 5, and I'll fade it into 5. Usually I'll try and start service off with a wider shot just to set like where we are, people can see the room. It also gives your camera operators a chance to grab focus, make sure they're framed up correctly real quick. And as soon as they're framed up, I mean, you can go to another shot. If you don't like this T-bar right here being down and in your way, instead of having to like fade into another shot, you can always just select, like right now, camera 5 is live. Just select camera 5 again in preview and fade it back up and you'll see nothing change because you basically just transition it into itself. But now we're into the music, we're going. I'll be like, okay, camera 1, grab our lead singer, whoever that might be, and I'll be like, ready 1, cut 1. We're going, and then I can go to like camera 3, like cut 3, ready 2, cut 2. Very simple. If I'm gonna fade, I'll say like, ready camera 5, fade 5. Normally I just use cuts unless I'm fading into a graphic or a video. It's kind of personal preference. So that's our main layer. Make sure once you get into music, you turn your keyer on. So your keyer is actually your presentation machine. This is where it gets a little confusing. That's also your iMac right here. It's also the same presentation machine. The difference between punching the iMac live and punching it as a keyer is like another layer on top of the program feed so you can see through it. If you punch it live, it's just the bottom layer. It's like the bottom of the bucket. There's nothing to see through. It's just gonna be that content. So like right now, I've got camera 5 on. Downstream keyer has been faded on, so you can see CCLI information is on top of camera 5. So that's why when I cut around to different cameras, you can still see CCLI license information, or like you'll still see the lyrics or the lower third. An important note why we use the keyer for lyrics and lower third is that way we can use what's called a clean feed or a separate program feed that doesn't have the keyer on it for our campuses at Roane County and Bearden. That way they can put up their own scripture and message content on their own. So in case we mess it up on our end, it's not baked in on their end. So that way they can have time to fix it and put up the correct information. So you can see up here on our other monitor, we have a clean feed, and you can see it doesn't currently have the CCLI stuff. So now I'll fade off the keyer and you'll see we're back to just camera. But if I say we've got a video coming up, I can fade it into that iMac, and you'll see now it's just black with the text because all you have is the iMac. This is important. So anytime we do like the countdown video, announcement video, or the bumper video, or like the looping graphics in between services, we will use just the iMac. We will punch it live. That way we don't have to worry about seeing any kind of camera underneath or anything like that. Like, you're only gonna see that content. And secondly, it's very important to make sure you punch the iMac live for your bumper. So when the first worship set is done and they're praying, make sure you fade the keyer off. That way you can punch the iMac live. That way your campuses will get the bumper video in their clean feed because you punched it live on the program. That way they get the bumper and the camera cuts for the message. If you leave the keyer on, what'll happen is the video will play for you and you will see it on that program. The problem is your clean feed is only gonna see whatever camera you were just on. So your campuses at Bearden and Roane County are just gonna see somebody standing in the dark. So it's really important you go to that iMac live. If you leave the keyer on and still fade the iMac live, you'll be fine. You can just fade this off once the video gets going, like you're in the middle of the bumper video, just fade it off. That way you'll control when you fade back into the cameras. If not, as soon as that video is finished, it'll automatically fade off for you and you might not quite be ready yet to go back in. Should be fine. That's a very rare circumstance. All in all, just make sure for the bumper video, for the countdown announcement video, that you're just iMac punched on program. And then keyer is only used for lyrics and lower thirds. Outside of that, there's really nothing like fancy to it. It's kind of artistic taste. For cutting cameras, a lot of you know, like, keep the headroom kind of close. Don't center the head in the frame, kind of keep it towards the top of frame. Keep the heads during the message. Sometimes you can see people's heads around whoever's speaking's feet. Like, try and get camera 2 to zoom in just enough to cut them off. Use camera 1 as your tight shot, because it's got the only lens that can zoom in enough to do a tight shot. And just feel the flow. Like, when you're doing worship cutting cameras, just feel the flow and just make sure you speak clearly into the headset right here for your camera ops to hear you. And other than that, it's pretty much whatever you feel like. And that's how you do switcher here at Two Rivers.